Hello, welcome to a new live stream, another live stream, episode 9 of today's live stream. And wow, we're almost at the end of the year. I can't believe it. It's gone by quite quickly this year. And obviously, it's a time of reflection and consideration of what you've done or what people have achieved over the year and how things have developed. And obviously, it's almost 2 years since since classes went virtual, really, for me. Anyway. I thought today we'll get started because there's a couple of things. Don't forget to drop a few comments down, some questions. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and also to review a couple of things with you, should you wish. But before having a look at questions and that sort of thing, I thought what I'd do is I would have a look at my advent calendar, because we're already in December and I have my advent calendar which my good wife gave me, and today is the 6th of December, so quite interesting. So day 6, if you have a look, 1 2 3 4 2 3 4 5. Okay, so as you can see over here, I've had the little chocolates, and the advent calendar is quite nice. This one's particularly nice because you get variety of chocolate, and if I show you on the back, you can see here different chocolates. So quite nice, quite posh. And let's have day 6. So this one, not sure if you can see that chocolate there. Very nice. Looks like hazelnut, but let me have a look at the back and see what it is. Yeah, salted hazelnut caramel. Right. Oh. Okay. Very nice. Anyway. One moment. Okay, so I can see we have Khan here. And Khan says hello. Nice to see you, Khan. And thank you for joining today. Excuse me. Okay, right, so Khan says hello. Welcome, Khan. Thank you for joining today's live stream. Really appreciate it. Any questions you have related to English language, English teaching, please feel free to post in the comments. Now, I do have a question here from Siberian Marvel. Thank you for joining today, Siberian. And he asks, is there a significant difference between have and have got? Is there anything to do with spoken English? Thanks. Now, this is quite a good question, I would say. The difference, I believe, is essentially between British English and American English. And so, I think British English says I have a mobile phone, and maybe American English says I have got a mobile phone, but they're used interchangeably nowadays. So many British English speakers would use the American version because it's become more dominant through, culture, arts, that sort of thing. And the British standard version has diminished somewhat, I suppose. So what would have been suitable as like, have you £10? Most people would say, have you got £10 anyway? But whichever you use, everybody will understand what you essentially mean. But that's the key difference, and that's the evolution of the language, I suppose. Anyway, so very useful, very interesting question, particularly about have and have got. Any other questions, please bring them in. That would be great to see. And we have Eric here. Hi, Martin. Just shared the link in the Facebook group. Much appreciated. Thank you ever so much, Eric. The more the merrier, I suppose, and the more students that we have, or the more teachers that we have joining us, the better for them, because they can post their questions, ask their questions, learn a little bit more, and I can learn a bit more from them, and that sort of thing. So, let's see. Right, now, there was a couple of questions that came through last week. It was really interesting. There were some great questions that were asked. I'm just trying to rack my brains and try and remember what the questions were. But there were a variety of questions related to English teaching, online teaching, finding private students, etc., etc. And I thought what I'd do is I'm tempted to do a special Christmas live stream, and if you can see, I'm going to move my camera because I'm starting to get, as you can see behind me, I've got some decorations up, and they're looking quite nice now, but I'm tempted to do a Christmas style quiz live stream for students and teachers to learn a bit more about the cultures of Christmas, not just in the UK and America, but also around the world and that sort of thing. Okay, right. More about that a bit later. We do have a question from Khan. Hi, Martin. I've been accepted onto a CELTA course. My question is, after qualifying, can I continue to teach with that qualification alone for the long term? Absolutely. It actually indicates once you've successfully passed your CELTA course, it is a clear indication of your commitment to the English language teaching profession, and it will open more opportunities and possibilities with language teaching, either in your home country or abroad. So there are those opportunities, and for me personally, I used the CELTA. I didn't do anything after the CELTA for about when did I do it? 2007. And when did I do my MA? It was about 2011, I believe, 2010. So I'm looking at 3 to 4 years before I started doing another course. And for me, I was given the opportunity to teach a variety of different classes. It gave me exam opportunities, so I became an examiner. So if you do the CELTA course, then you can start to open up and carve yourself into a niche where you end up doing exam work for like Cambridge or IELTS. There's an opportunity to become more senior in certain positions and certain roles as a teacher, but don't stop just after the CELTA. I would definitely recommend maybe 2-3 years post-qualification to build up that experience in the classroom, and then start to look at other courses post-CELTA, after 2 or 3 years. After your CELTA course, you can start to look at other opportunities such as the Delta, which is the Diploma in English Language Teaching to Adults, or an MA, which I ended up doing, and an MA will give you all that sort of experience and exposure into post IELTS, I guess. So for me, it was an avenue into English teaching for academic students, and so that's what I'm doing at the moment. So MA, university opportunities, Delta, more senior teacher training roles, and that sort of thing. So I hope that helps, Khan. But congratulations, well done, and congrats on getting onto the CELTA course. The requirements and the procedure to get accepted onto a course can be quite stringent and quite strict, but you've done very, very well for being accepted onto the course. So big thumbs up, hey? Right, Hanan. So Hanan is here. She says hello. So nice to have you, Hanan. Thank you ever so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And that's it for the moment. So any more questions, feel free to put them in. I've got a poem for later this evening. Well, not this evening, but at the end of this live stream. And I'm going to be having a look at today's topic is about developing yourself remotely, moving from one-to-one teaching towards group teaching online. So for me, sorry, my cat's just waking up now. For me, I've been teaching one-to-one for quite a while now, online, but I've had the opportunity to teach groups of students for different courses and that sort of thing. But one thing that I haven't been doing privately is to start tutoring groups of students privately. This is one thing that I'd like to try and develop, because I think if you have the opportunity to teach privately to a range of students, a group of students, there's more dynamics involved with the online lessons and the online classes. Bear with me, I'm getting the usual rubbish. I'm going to remove that. I don't know why this stuff pops up on my live stream. It's really annoying. And let's put the user in timeout. Boom. And remove. And then report. It's frustrating. Anyway, sorry about that. Now, where was I? Okay, yes. Teaching online. I've been doing privately with individual students, and one thing that I'd like to try and develop is to teach groups of students, particularly for IELTS preparation courses and IELTS classes. I think this would be good. So there's a couple of things that I've been thinking about doing, particularly from January. The first thing is, well, this Christmas, a Christmas-themed quiz for students, teachers alike, that people can participate with. That would be great. And from January, I'd like to tutor students on, live on YouTube, on IELTS preparation classes, or things to look at for the speaking parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, or the writing elements. I think I would really like to try and engage and do something live online with YouTube, and that would be really cool to do. So let me know what you think, and what are your thoughts and ideas of having a live stream for students. And obviously with it being live, it will be a great chance for students to watch free of charge. So I'll be trying to ask for donations, definitely up to the students. And I know everybody's having difficulties at the moment financially because of the pandemic and that sort of thing, but it'd be really nice to try and prepare students somehow, contribute to students who are planning and studying towards the IELTS. And so I'll be sharing that with my students, and if you can do the same with your students, that'd be really, really appreciated, and it'd be good to hear what your views are and that sort of thing. Right, Hanan, she has a couple of questions. Right, let's remove that. There we go. Apologies. I'm getting all sorts of spam when I do the live stream, which is really frustrating. I'm going to get in touch with YouTube about that. Right. Hanan says, I stopped I stopped practicing teaching for 3 years and a half, and now I feel I'm ready to get back to my job as a teacher. What's your advice, as I forgot many techniques about teaching and grammar too? Right, really interesting question. So for me personally, I'm going to feel rather nervous going back into a physical classroom. I've definitely improved my skills remotely, online, tutoring students and that sort of thing remotely. However, when I go into a physical classroom, I'm going to feel just the same, Hanan. And, I'm going to be rather nervous about going into a physical classroom, seeing students face to face and, trying to deliver a class or a lesson based on what the students require. And now, for me, it's been over, nearly 2 years since I've had to teach remotely. So that's going to be difficult. However, having a break entirely from teaching, I think the first thing that I would recommend is maybe having the opportunity to observe another teacher, to shadow another teacher if you can. It's a lot more flexible nowadays because most lessons and courses are available and delivered remotely. So you could ask a teacher, is it possible that I could observe your class and then, pay back somehow and allow that teacher to observe your lesson once you're teaching, so you can sort of get some feedback and some sort of rapport that way. I think that's the first advice. The second advice, I think, is many students as well have this nervousness when it comes down to learning, and with education being disrupted hugely over the nearly 2 years now, I feel that the students are going to be in the same position as you as a teacher returning to the profession after a short break. So, you would have the sympathy of the students, and you would have the sympathy of your colleagues. And as educators, we're here to try and help each other as much as possible and to guide each other as much as possible. And, if you have that chance to observe lessons, if you have that chance to have a peer support or peer observation, then all this will help you develop your skills as a teacher and will help you return to English language teaching. So that's my advice. Next thing that Hanan mentioned was I was thinking to apply for a master education, but I need to pass the IELTS exam. I suppose if you're going to be studying a postgraduate qualification at university and doing an MA in teaching or something like that, for many international students, they need to pass the IELTS, of course. One thing which is why I'm thinking of doing sort of a live stream about how to pass the written elements of the IELTS exam, how to get a band 7 or an 8, how to get a band 7 for your speaking or listening, etc. It seems to be one of those things that you need to overcome, I suppose, when it comes down to IELTS for international students. Right, let's remove and let's put user in timeout and report. All sorts of rubbish on YouTube, which is really frustrating. Remove. Boom. Okay, I think that's about it. Right, so where was I before I got disrupted by spam again? So unfortunately the IELTS is just one of those courses that you need to do, one of those exams that you need to do to overcome to be accepted onto a postgraduate qualification in the UK, USA, Canada, etc., etc. So it's one of those things, and as a teacher who specialises in IELTS preparation and academic English preparation, I think this sort of plan that I've got for January hopefully will be of interest to Nan, and if it is, that would be appreciated. Right, so let's move on, and so let's have a look at group teaching. So the benefit of teaching individually to one student privately is the fact that you have the opportunity to develop that rapport and offer that insight to that one particular student. They get all your attention and what have you during the lesson. However, if you teach privately to a group of students, then there's more dynamics, as I was saying earlier, and the dynamics to teach those particular students, a group of students, will be able to, they will have that rapport between themselves, you'll have that rapport with a group of students, and you can do more varied activities. So if you're teaching online to a group of students for like business, English purposes, or exam purposes, then there's certain things and certain tasks that you can incorporate. Okay, so that's that sort of thing. Now, I'm thinking of promoting myself as a online group teacher, I suppose. I think that would be quite interesting to get involved with, and also offering a sort of a freelance course with students donating however much that they can afford for that particular course, and it would be an opportunity for students, it would open the doors for students whose livelihood has been disrupted, and hopefully those that have the opportunity to donate a little bit more can sort of balance out that sort of thing. So that's my thoughts at the moment, and that's how I'm working towards it. And if you have one student that you're teaching individually and they're paying you $20, $25, $30 for the 55 minutes, then if you have a group of 6 students and you say, okay, each of you pay like $6, you're going to be earning $36 in that hour. So I think if you market it like that, so it's more affordable for students, then it would be of more interest, and it gives you the potential to earn more money at the end of the day. Right. In order to manage online group classes, there's certain things that you can do. You can take advantage of that group dynamic. You can start to get students interacting with each other in English. You can put them into breakout rooms. Or into small groups discussing or surveying each other. You could give them a worksheet such as a survey where they try and find out, let's take one example, like food, for example, the different types of food that they've eaten, and you can get them to report back, so there's a lot more interaction going on. Whereas when it's one-to-one, it's either you or the other student talking, so that's where we are. Okay. In terms of the technology for group classes, we already have the technology available. We've got Skype, we've got Zoom, there's also a variety of other applications that you can use. Most people would be quite happy to use Zoom to engage with a live online lesson. What do you think? Do you think it would be useful? Anyway, in terms of adults requiring English, or adults requiring exam preparation classes, I think this is the best way to go in terms of group teaching. Right, now a couple of things that I'm going to share. So let me just share my internet browser, that's the word I'm looking for. So today I thought I'd share this blog post on the same page. Really interesting website. It looks at the sort of videos that you could use with your class. So 16 short videos or 16 short films that you could use that could be suitable for teenagers. And teenagers love to engage with videos that are short. And this blog post details 16 videos. There's a video here about a like. Another one verifying that you're not a robot, quite interesting. There's the obvious one about a child interrupting their dad during a BBC interview a few years ago. I remember that one. That was very, very funny. And then there's a variety of different parodies as well. Then there's this one, and then you can see a sort of video that went viral from 2012. Fresh Prince, monkeys, hamsters, etc. I forgot my phone. I'm kidnapped, procrastination. There's actually a really interesting video about the mind of a procrastinator, which I use with my students. Let me just have a look for it. Mind of a master procrastinator. Really funny, really engaging, and I would definitely recommend this one as a video for particular students. So let me copy the link and put it in the group chat. So definitely have a look at that video. Really useful, quite funny, quite engaging. Students would love it, and I usually use it with my adult students where they make notes about certain things that the presenter introduces. So this website here, really good, definitely well worth looking at. So 16 short videos for lessons, and I'll put this in the chat as well, so please have a look at that. Okay, now let's have a look at another one. Because we're heading towards Christmas, it becomes quite common for teachers to start to incorporate their own Christmas related lessons. And I've been guilty of preparing certain lessons revolving around the topic of Christmas. It's very hard to avoid, and that sort of thing. So this website here looks at the sort of things that that shouldn't really happen. I found this quite interesting. Like the writer here, I really enjoy Christmas. I get involved with it. I have to show you my tree, because my tree is all decorated now. It's on the side, just right next to me, out as shot, so I'll show you shortly. Right. Another spam. Let's see. Let's remove, report. Okay, sorry, I'm getting all sorts of rubbish Okay, right. So, in terms of Christmas, we go through the usual sort of paraphernalia about, or the usual lesson about Christmas and the culture in the UK or America or wherever you're from, and what sort of things, and, sort of gap fills with songs and music. And it kind of gets a bit anodyne and a bit boring, and, every year's the same. So this blog post looks at, maybe we need to start doing less Christmas-related activities. However, I'm going to be doing my live Christmas stream. This will be really good, and it will be great to have everybody else participating in this sort of quiz for Christmas. And I'm thinking the Monday before Christmas. I think Christmas this year is Saturday, which is good. But the Monday before that, I'm thinking of having my quiz. It'd be really good to have everybody on board and participating. Right, now, let's have a look. We have one question here from Sharif. She says, hello, I have a question related to curriculum on Preply or Preply. Can you share with us what do you use for students level B1 plus and B2? Certainly. Now, for me, I'm aware that Preply do provide a variety of lessons on their platform. And there is a variety of lessons available elsewhere. And personally, I use a website called Lingua House? linguahouse.com. Now, for me, for my IELTS preparation classes, I use the materials on Lingua House. I think it's like $49 per year, allowing you the opportunity to download all the material and all the audio, and then sharing it with your students, and then they can complete the different tasks outside of class. So what I end up doing is, if I just share my website, so here we can see innovation in learning, linguahouse.com, and there's a variety of different lessons here. Something interesting about internet cats. So, I'm a cat person with my cat sleeping on the sofa. And this one is a B1, B2 level, intermediate to upper intermediate lesson. So this is what I would tend to use. You got the decision between British and American English, and for me, British, of course. Anyway, we look at this. There's a lesson plan here, and there's a worksheet. And here you can see the lesson plan related with all the answers, and the worksheet will have just the activities with no answers. Okay. However, in terms of other lessons, let's say inventions without inventors, here you can see audio that you can download, or you can play it here or share it with the student. There's the worksheet, black and white or color. Okay. There's the answer key as well. So this is what I tend to use in my own with my own lessons. Okay, so I certainly hope that helps. And then on top of the materials that I use or deliver, I get the students to complete the reading, the listening out of class before the lesson starts, and then during the lesson we review their answers and also look at the vocabulary, and then do the speaking, the conversation questions. So let me bring up another website, and so what I end up doing is if I just share my website or share this website here, I've started to build up a variety of different materials or lessons and pronunciation activities. And if I go, for example, to lesson topics, here you can see a variety of lessons which I've downloaded from Lingua House and then started to export into Google Drive. And then we got something about visiting Scotland. So here I go to visit in Scotland, open this up, and then you can start to see what I do. So I end up incorporating it into Google Drive. I get the students to complete the sort of activities on Google Drive, and then we have an opportunity to review the answers together. That's what I end up doing, Sharif. And then there's reading, there's vocabulary, then there's reading comprehension, true, false, not given, a listening activity, listening comprehension, and then talking point. So I normally share the material before the lesson, and then get the students to complete it, and then we all check together and then make sure everything's all sorted and ready to go. Any questions that arise from their own self-study, that would be good. So it's important to divide between in-class activities and out-of-class activities. I want to try and be as productive as possible, and I want the students to benefit from the lesson itself. So if we end up doing a lot of reading in the class, they're really not making the most out of that time, because I prefer to focus on communication and interaction. And in the class, as I mentioned, communication and that sort of thing. Out of class, reading, listening, writing, maybe some of the vocabulary activities and that sort of thing. Okay, another question from Sharif. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Apologies if I don't. In order to use these lessons, we would need to use Zoom, not the Preply class, right? Not exactly. What we would need to do is, if I bring up Preply at the moment, and if I go to learning plans and bring up the board, what you can do, fortunately, is you can start to share your screen. So let me share the website. So as you probably see on this website, the common layout for the live lesson, at the bottom right you'll have or somewhere, or middle bottom of the screen, you'll have a share button, and then you can start to share your Chrome or your Chrome tab. Then you can also start to look at what the student's written, in terms of their answers, and share that screen and that sort of thing. And so, yes, you can use Zoom, and you can share the Chrome internet browser, that's the word, or you could share the document with the student or put it on the screen for all the students to see. But you can, what I tend to use is I use the Preply Classroom, but then share the Chrome tab or the document share window and that sort of thing. And if this is the way around of sharing the activities or going through the answers together with the student, and that sort of thing. So in terms of your question, Sharif, you can use Zoom, but you can also use the Preply Classroom as well to help you share the materials and that side of things. That's what I find really useful. And you have that flexibility to go for either Zoom or Preply. For me, Preply is great to match you with the private students, but the classroom, the materials, whiteboard, I'm not really sold on, but anyway, that's another thing. Right, so I hope that answers your question, Sharif. And then, right, where are we? Okay, 20 to 2, so we're almost there. Now, I've shared about Christmas Grinch and, the sort of things not to do in class, I guess. A couple of things reflecting back on what I've done in the past in terms of Christmas. I've done the usual songs, unfortunately, last Christmas, I've done it before in the past, much to the regret of my students. So I've done the gap fill exercise with my students. The other thing that I've done is a sort of Christmas movie, and then with movies you can get the characters and the images for each character, and then get the students to watch the movie in the classroom, and then trying to find out different information. So what does that person do? What's their job? What's their relationship? How are they related? And that sort of thing. So a good one that I've done in class before, particularly for a Christmas style lesson, is Love Actually. And that one's quite good because you've got the different characters. They're all related and connected. They all have different jobs, and you can see how they all fit as a whole in that movie. So that one's been quite successful. However, for adult learners, I'm not really wanting to focus too heavily on Christmas. But for young learners, then it's definitely an opportunity for students to really learn more about British culture, or Christmas culture, I guess, and they find it really fun and engaging. They can do Christmas carols, they can do all sorts of art and that sort of thing, and that's where things are improved. Right. Now, in terms of any other questions, please feel free to put those questions in the chat. I'll be quite happy to answer any further questions that you may have. Right. Finally, let's see. What else is there? Okay. Now, as some of you are aware, I enjoy poetry. And I've got a nice poem to read very soon, which I've chosen from Yeats. And I read one of his poems last week, and quite a few enjoyed that poem. Right, but for me, there was a nice post here about Instagram poems for ESL students. Quite nice. It was reshared on this, and you've got a variety of different poems that people post up on Instagram, and this has got me thinking about maybe trying to get students to create their own poems in English and sharing it on social media like Instagram, and then putting a hashtag of your class or something like that, so you can monitor to see how they're getting on with their poems and seeing what sort of traction that builds. I find that quite useful. And this post here looks at a couple of questions. How has the poet personified nostalgia? How has the poet used the five senses to create evocative imagery and memories of childhood or that sort of thing? So I find this post quite useful. And again, you can get students to share their own poetry online. So bear with me. Let me share the link. Really useful. I found it quite useful. Now, in terms of news, let's see what the news is happening. Let's see if there's anything related to education or that sort of thing. So we'll have a look at education. Quite a bit about the university strikes in the UK. Quite a few strikes happening at the moment. There's, all related to pensions. And then there's obviously the question about how will the strikes affect student education and their lessons. And I think a couple of years ago university students were eligible for a refund on their degree courses because quite a few staff decided to strike, unfortunately. Anyway, that's it. Okay, we have Victor here. Victor says hello. So welcome back, Victor. Thank you ever so much for joining. Any questions you have, please ask, and I'll be sharing that in and answering any questions you may have as well. So thank you. Right, now one thing I wanted to do was to share the Christmas tree, which is on my left, and something that I put up recently. You can see all the decorations behind me, so just bear with me. I'm going to move my camera slightly and you can start to see how the Christmas tree is looking. It's not completely finished. There's a couple of things that we need to do but anyway, let me just share. Bear with me. I'll just move my camera around and we'll see. As you can see, nice Christmas tree. Anyway, there we go. Right. Sit back down. Oh, and you got my cat in the shot now. Brilliant. Right, any final questions, please feel free. Otherwise, we're going to call it a day today. But yeah, a couple of updates. Hopefully, there's going to be that, Christmas quiz live stream. I'd really like to do a Christmas quiz live stream online. It'd be really interesting if everybody gets together and see how much you know about Christmas. It would be great to see. The other update, thank you, Sharif, beautiful tree, it certainly is. The other update that I'm thinking of doing is live streaming IELTS classes for students, and I think this will be really fun. So new year, new plan. Hopefully things will get better and improve, but unfortunately the COVID is not going away, so we're still stuck in the same position that we started almost 2 years ago. And one more thing. This time of year, Christmas, is the period when I first started teaching in 2005. So I first started teaching English as a foreign language in South Korea. Around this time, it was I think it was about the 5th of December or something like that. So I've now been teaching for 16 years. I can't believe how quick it's gone. Two of those years have been remotely, remote, unfortunately. But hopefully things will get back to normal and things, classes, the amount of classes that I'm teaching increases, because at the moment I've got very, very few classes, so I'm just scraping by. And any support, anything like that would be greatly appreciated, because we're all struggling, I suppose. Anyway, let's not go too negative, and let's remain optimistic, because I'm sure things will improve. Anyway, I'm going to read a poem. Oh, no, I'm not. I've got a question. Okay, right. Really interesting question from Ben Parsons. Thank you, Ben, for joining. How do you give feedback? Do you use Google Docs for this? Yeah. Okay. In terms of feedback, let me just share one of my students and the sort of thing that I do. So essentially, yes, I do use Google Docs. I make a note of all the language that they're using during whilst they're speaking, for example. So, for example, I've been preparing a student for IELTS about daily routines, and if I just share my website, Google Documents here, you can see I've got the common questions about daily routine, really good. And again, I use a particular website for this, IELTS Liz. She details all the questions that could arise in IELTS speaking or reading, writing, etc., etc. And here, so for example, a student, a Korean student I was teaching said, I want to take a photo of sunrise every morning. And, Korean students tend to say, I want to, because of the they don't really have anything less direct, I guess, in English, because they say 뭐뭐뭐 하고 싶어요, I want to do this, or I want to do that, I want to eat such and such, I want to go, I want this. But in English, I want is rather rude, and so I'm aware it's probably too direct. So I enjoy taking photos of sunrises every morning. I wish to take a photo of the sunrise each morning. I really desire to. So making it more, less direct, making it more polite. So this is what I tend to do. So I just type out what the students are saying. And I give them feedback, not just on errors, but things to help them coming up with their speaking. So I said, what was one of the questions that I said? Do you usually have the same routine every day? And then the student was talking about, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. But there was no reference to time. So I was saying, okay, what you said was good, grammatically correct, but you need to start providing a bit more context, in the morning, in the afternoon, after work, before work, in the evening, at night. Yeah, so providing that signposting for the listener or the examiner, so they can start to follow step by step what you're doing, rather than just a list of what you do each day, with no sense of whether it's in the morning, afternoon, evening. And that's how I would tend to give feedback, Ben. Again, Google Documents, again, for pronunciation, productivity, and I tend to share the sentence stress, so productivity, with TI being the stress within the word. Other than that, I tend to give, a certain language, so developing, scaffolding that language. So the same thing again, the next day. So, the student was talking about, they tend to do the same thing again and again each day. And we have a phrase in English like, then rinse and repeat, do it again and again. So I gave the student that sort of language, so next time they would sound a bit more useful. And I've just realized it's cut off, so you can't see exactly. There we are. That's how I tend to do that, Ben. And I'm not sure about you. Do you use Google Documents for feedback and that sort of thing? Let me know. And do you give the feedback immediately, or do you wait until they've finished speaking? For me, I tend to do the latter rather than interrupting them all the time. However, when there's a sort of breakdown in communication, that's when I go, hold on, can you just say this again? And so there's a certain time and place, I guess, when it comes down to error correction and that sort of thing. Anyway, we're going to finish off with a poem by Yeats. And I got this poem highlighted. It was written in 1892, so quite a nice old poem. and it's called The Rose of the World. The Rose of the World. So quite evocative. Flower, rose coming up, and is it a thing of beauty, I guess? So the rose, it looks beautiful, but you've got the thorns, so you've got to be very careful. So you've got to take the rough with the smooth, I guess. Anyway, so today's poem is The Rose of the World, and if we're ready to start, if there aren't any other questions, I'll be happy to start my poem. So let's get started. Who dreamed that beauty passes like a dream? For these red lips, with all their mournful pride, mournful that no new wonder may betide, Troy passed away in one high funeral gleam, and Ursula's children died. We and the labouring world are passing by, amid men's souls that waver and give place, like the pale waters in their wintry race, under the passing stars, foam of the sky, lives on this lonely face. Bow down, archangels, in your dim abode, before you were, or any hearts to beat. Weary and kind one lingered by his seat. He made the world to be a grassy road before her wandering feet. Quite a nice poem. I hope you enjoyed that. Right, well, thank you ever so much for joining today's live stream. Thanks for all the questions. Apologies for all the spam in the in the chat, but I'm going to get in touch with YouTube to see what the heck is going on, because it's really frustrating. Hope you enjoyed the poem. Thanks ever so much for the comments about the tree next to me. I'll try and have to readjust or shift towards the tree for next time. So let's move it round. Yeah, we got part of the tree in shot. And also, thank you ever so much for all the comments, all the questions. Keep them coming. I'll be updating everybody very soon in terms of a Christmas quiz live stream. I'll be updating everyone in terms of maybe a possible IELTS live stream for students. So please feel free to share with your students. It would be great. And have a lovely week, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed today's live stream. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, that like button, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And also, let me know if there's any particular posts, blog posts, poetry, or anything that you should, that I should include next time. So please let me know. In the meantime, have a lovely week. Have a lovely rest of the Monday, and I'll see everybody next week as usual. But it's looking pretty miserable in the UK today. It's pretty wet. Okay, so thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Happy teaching, and bye-bye.